we're going to move on to a game that HABA makes.
Yes.
Called Secret Code 13+4.
Yeah, it's the designer's Jürgen P. Grunau, and the art was Stefan Fischer.
Sweet. And again, this was HABA.
Yes.
Basically, Matt, you want to explain this one? Take a stab at it?
I'll try it. So you've got a board. There's random numbers placed. There's even a couple split paths on it. But essentially, you're taking, I can't remember exact amount, six dice. You're rolling them. They're not your standard dice. They are, if I had to guess, there's ones on them, but there's 8 and 9, I think.
They go up to 9. I think there's probably 3 highers and 3 lower.
Okay, yeah.
I haven't looked at them that closely.
I meant to do this before I left. I meant to take the dice out and actually look at and see what the ratios were and everything. But essentially, you roll the 6 dice, and if the first tile is, let's say it's 10, you try and do math equations with the dice numbers that you rolled to equal 10. Remove the dice you used, hop that. It's the theme of the game is your thieves trying to break into a place that a museum that has a bunch of laser lights. So all the numbers have like little laser lights on them. So you get by that laser trap and you move on to the next number with the remaining dice you have. You go until you can't meet the criteria for the number in front of you and just pass the dice, and you essentially move on until you get to the end. So
yeah, and basically you can use multiply, divide,
yes,
subtract, division, or you know what I'm saying.
Yes,
plus minus stuff.
Yeah,
all that things. You can do whatever you want. I could be like, now obviously you want to do it with the less dice, but if you wanted to get like to 10, you could be like, all right, well 6 plus 6 is 12 minus 2.
Yes,
you could even be like divided by 3 plus 8, whatever. I don't know if that was math.
Yeah.
That was probably fail. But
it was numbers.
It was numbers. The point is you try to use as least amount of dice as possible to hop each hop.
Right.
I mean, you could probably go a lot farther because some of them are like 3 or 5, and you might just roll that number.
Yes, that happens.
And you can spin that number.
Right.
And you know what? I heard about this game. I think Eric Summer was talking about it on the Dice Tower podcast.
Yes, he was. I remember this.
And I got really excited. I was like, Matt, I'm going to buy this at Origins. And you're like, this is the game I've been telling you about for like a year.
Well, and that's what I told you that my daughter had a project at school where they had to design a board game, and my mouth watered. I was like, oh, design a board game? Okay, well, let's go with this. Yeah. And she actually picked that game to kind of retheme it, and it turned into Sum of All Fears. So it's a zombie.
That's cool.
You're going through a graveyard and this and that. It's essentially the same thing, but we used the Walking Dead standees. But
that's pretty cool though. How was the reception to that? Or did people even walk around playing games?
No, they take all the kids, they put them in the gym, and you have to walk around and play all the different games.
Oh, that's cool.
The people that played it liked it. It was probably a little much for, I think, her kids in her class because they're not used to,
board games.
They're not anything outside of your family board games. They're not used to. But some of the older kids, like she was in second grade. So like the 4th and 5th graders that saw it, she would teach it to them, and they found it to be pretty fun. So.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I think it's a great game.
No, it is.
The concept's awesome. I mean, it makes you think,
yes.
Obviously, because if it's easy if you're rolling, it's like I need a 10 and you roll a 7 and a 3. That's fine. But if you don't roll anything that adds up, obviously, like if you got like an odd number and you roll all evens,
right?
You got to be pretty clever, or you just lose your turn, whatever.
Right.
But so I mean, the components are great. They're HABA quality. I mean, obviously, most of their games are pretty stellar as far as quality.
Right.
I do like. I'd like to play it with some of the variants, whereas each of those tiles with the numbers actually have numbers on the back.
Yes.
You flip them over. Now, it would have been cool if they added or has an expansion to where you can have a lot higher numbers. So it's a little bit more crazy. I don't know how they did the balancing of this, but, say like 44.
Right.
I mean, you got to do a lot of multiplication then. Right now, it's a lot of just subtraction and addition.
Yeah, I think about as high as that goes 20.
Yeah.
If I'm thinking right.
I think 20 was the highest.
Yeah.
So, like, it would be cool if you had to do multiplication a lot more.
Yeah.
That would be a neat, like, expansion to the game. Or, or make it to where, I guess division doesn't happen that often.
No,
It's mostly just add and subtract.
yeah. Most of the time you divide if you've got like a 6 and a 6 and you need a 1 for something.
Right, something like that. So, I mean, I think there's some cool ways to expand it. I doubt they ever will, but realistically, you could cut out your own tiles and just write numbers on them.
Right.
I mean, it's a great way to teach math to kids, especially in the range of whatever the game's targeted.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is that too young? Like, how old is Desi?
Well, she's not doing multiplication and division yet, so she's at somewhat a disadvantage in that sense. But I mean, I don't go crazy on her and multiply and stuff like that. So I mean, I kind of play down to her level with it, but
yeah.
But I mean, she does fairly well, even just adding and stuff like that. So it's not an issue.
Fair enough.
So, but yeah.
Recommend it to anybody with kids.
Yeah.
That needs to do some math practice.
Yeah, and it's also good too to even when it's not your turn, you can play in your head.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, because you can play their turn with them.
Yeah, pretty much. So you're always kind of involved in that sense, and sometimes you got to help them out a little bit. I mean, even with me, you, and Eric, we were not seeing things sometimes. I think we were getting too complicated, and in our own head.
I felt like I was doing better on your all's turns than on my turn.
Right.
Because I'm like just sitting there, like, oh yeah. Oh yeah, see, he did that.
Yeah.
And then on my turn, I'm like, I roll and I'm like, 3. So really good game.
Yeah.